Are your dreams trying to tell you something? Author M.B. Mosley teaches you how to decode your dreams and take hold of the manifestations that lay in wait for you in the waking realm. Now, broadcasting all over the world, it's the Dream Interpretation Podcast.
Hello there, Dream Zone Interpretation Tribe. You are now tuning into the spiritual sweet wise man by the name of Dr. Charles L. Whitefield once stated that the briefest definition for spirituality is about the relationships that we have with ourselves, with others, and with the universe. And may I add, the healthy relationships we have with ourselves, the healthy relationships with others, and the universe. Thank you so much for joining me. I am your host, author, and sister friend, M.B. Mosley. Let us get into the sweet spot. Which is
Welcome back, family. This is the Saturday Spiritual Sweet Spot. This is the Spiritual Sweet Spot podcast. You are at the right station, of course. This is a part of the Dream Zone Interpretation Podcast, hosted by your host here, author and sister friend, M.B. Mosley, also known as Memory Bengessa Mosley. And I'm glad to be back here talking to you all. Just this is a breath of fresh air that's much needed. And this couple messages I've had, I apologize. I do apologize. And I want to say thank you so much for your continued downloads of the podcast and continued support of the podcast. It really means a lot to me, and I really appreciate you all. I appreciate that energy. It just does something to me, just looking at the analytics, knowing that we are growing together on our journey to true self, and just knowing that we are out here wanting the best for ourselves as well, or better for ourselves, might I add. So I'm so excited. I'm so excited to be here. Talking about the Spiritual Sweet Spot Saturdays, and we are moving right along with the journey to true self. And today, the ultimate question then lies: trusting yourself, the journey to true self, trusting yourself. All right. And I just wanted to make mention, and not to somber the mood down, I'll be here posting some more. I have a lot of material to post, and I do apologize about the trickling of the material there. Yes, there were, before my sister's situation here, there was a slowdown there. And then my sister passed away on June the 25th. That's my younger sister. She is 4 years younger than me, my best friend, my history maker, as I've been saying. She is the person with it's 5 siblings, and with all the siblings, of course, has different shared experiences with all of them. However, she was one of my partners in life that had history with me, ever since we're little kids, and frolicking in the tall grass, taking shortcuts from my best friend's house and so forth. So she's missed. She's missed. Her physical aspect is missed here, but I feel her all around me and embracing me, and just her presence is strongly felt, but her physical self is really missed. Yep, that's my best friend. And you all, I know this is the Spiritual Sweet Spot Saturday podcast. And if I have any Dream Zone Interpretation listeners, this will be on the very first few podcasts. I wanted to attach it, but when we go down to talk more so on the Dream Zone part, I'll probably do a podcast explaining the drowning dream. If you go back into my podcast and earlier days of the podcast where I had the drowning dream, and then I'll come back and circle back and give you the full manifestation of that dream scene here with the a loss of my sister. The dream itself has come full cycle to manifestation, and this is drowning. Now it all makes sense why when I dove back into the water, she was surrounded by dark, shadowy figures down deep in the water, and I couldn't pull up out of the water. But there's more context to come with that dream interpretation itself, okay? All right, so I really wanted to give you all this message, and because this message is trucking along with trusting yourself, journey to true self, these are messages that have been pre-written, just needed to be recorded. And if this resonates with you, I'm grateful. And it's always a good, all these messages are always good to come back to as well, right? As we are all here on earth, like I usually say, as spiritual human beings, having a spiritual life experience. Now, remember, every time we run into people run into us, we are learning experiences from them as well as they're learning experiences from us. So let's be the best teachers that we can possibly be here in this lifetime in our physical form as we continue. All right. So, and I apologize if this is a little bit shorter than you're used to. Just bear with me. Things are happening as emotions allow. And so trusting yourself, journey to true self. And I might add that my journey to true self thus far has been enlightening. Painful with the loss of my sister, definitely, but enlightening in totality. And you know, life has never promised us to be smooth sailing or to be non painful or, you know, non bearable or bearable, either way. But life has never really awarded us that, right? It just awards us so most times the uncertainties of life is guaranteed. We know that for sure. No matter how much we try to plan around it, life is like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to do what I want to do. Okay, thank you. Bye-bye. And so we could just be as prepared as we can be, right? Like, you all know what I'm talking about because you're my tribe, right? Allowing the universe to, allowing it to flow and allowing the universe to take over. All right. So, trusting yourself, journey to true self. I'm learning a lot about myself. This journey to true self for me is very symbolic in a lot of aspects. Definitely aspects I would love to go over with you as well. I'm not just putting it to the back burner. I definitely will be circling back. Everything has a little method to it. There's a method to the madness. And so, yeah, you know, I look back on my life experiences and I look back at certain decisions that I've made. And I realized that so oftentimes it's easier to trust those things that are familiar and comfortable to us than it is to trust the unknown or even to trust things that we don't understand. It makes it a little bit more complicated. And I learned over the course of years, this is for someone out there that's perhaps thinking about that decision, or perhaps you know in your heart, you have a knowing in your heart, but are still doubting or uncertain. So I realized that over the course of years, because I was sitting back thinking about this message, trusting yourself. And at first, when I hear the message, I'm like, how does it resonate with me? And so I was doing a reflection, looking at the moments in my life that I actually trusted myself. And trust and believe, it's not always been, oh, I trust myself 100%. You're talking to Doubting Thomas here. So it was like, do I got it or do I got it? I don't know, you know. But of course, those things over the years, we're working on them, right? We're working on them. That's part of being a human being, working on them, getting those strengths together and turning those weaknesses into dynamic strengths. Anyway, so yes. So, I mean, I said to myself, you know, looking back at every major decision and even minor, but looking back at those crucial decisions that I went in heart first, with a peace of mind, I realized that those were the best decisions I've ever made for myself versus one thing I realized, put a pin on that. One thing I realized, so many pins, we're running out of board space. All right. So, one thing I realized in life from my own personal experiences is that, yes, definitely in life, we're surrounded by people that love us abundantly and people that adore us, and they're always looking out for our best interests at heart. But the best interests, I realize, for some people that love us deeply are sometimes not the best interests for us in our hearts. And it's okay for you to hold on to what you believe is the best interest for you, if that makes sense, because that has been my past life's quandaries. In the past times where I found myself in a debacle with my heart was the fact that I felt like I should make this move, yet a loved one or somebody's advice in which I valued suggested otherwise. And definitely the people loved me enough, they adored me enough, and they wanted nothing but the absolute best for me. They had all the great intentions. But I realized, and you know what it is? I asked the therapist, Yes, she did, girl. So I was like talking to the therapist one time, and this one time I was talking to the therapist. Trust me, it's an ongoing process. I still got a therapist, but one time when I was talking to the therapist, I say to him, I said, "Is being stubborn a disease?" And and he said, no. He says, now, when we look at behaviors, right? It doesn't really mean that it's a disease. It could fall on the behavioral part, and I understand all that. It's good to be open-minded. And I think I phrased it differently. Instead of saying stubborn, but maybe standing in your conviction is the word. Now, I'm not going to lie. I'm probably stubborn as a mule in some things, but I realize and like I said, I want to call it standing in my conviction, because I know that's one of my characters. And I know, like, when I stand in my conviction, it's like things have always worked out for the better, if that makes sense. So today's message for you, trusting yourself to journey through yourself. Grab a hold of everybody that loves you near and dear to you, that adores you, right? And there's nothing wrong in life to get advice from people. There's nothing wrong to hear opinions and suggestions, right? But ultimately, at the end of the day, you're the one that's also you're the one that has the knowing. You're the one that knows what's best for you. And I'm not saying that walking in what's best for us 100% of the time is always going to be best for us. We have an inkling. We know. There's a knowing that's inside of us. If you reach deep down inside, I found out during meditation, sometimes that answers some things if I have a little question mark at it. Now, am I saying ignore all the great advice, opinions, suggestions for you from loved ones? No, never. I've had great suggestions, opinions, unsolicited advice from people, but I knew that their intentions were well. That's the difference in life. If you understand that the people that are trying to help you out with either major decisions or minor decisions in life, understanding and knowing that their intentions mean well, then you be the judge of the outcome for that decision, if that makes sense. Because life is not necessarily like, listen, I know I messed around calling it stubborn, made my therapist laugh, and I told him it's strong conviction. Strong conviction. He said, I'll make a good businesswoman. I believe that. Speak that into the universe. But listen, so here's the things, right? We also want to walk with an open mind, right? And I'm living in a new philosophy of I don't judge things that I don't understand, and I don't judge. So I want to back it up with the I don't judge. And I'll definitely not judge anything I don't understand. But my goal in life is to maybe perhaps understand it or ask for understanding. And also walking in a light knowing that I don't know everything, that I'm here to learn things as well. However, when it comes to your life decisions and decisions that you have a knowing internally, what I'm doing today is just encouraging you to go and lean into that knowing. Only because if I could tell you right now, what I would consider off the top of my head some crucial moments. I remember I had a lady, this is when I was like in a church institute, and I had a lady swear up and down. She didn't swear, but I had a lady tell me that she knew who my husband was, and it was a person who I knew was not my husband. And these are examples I really want to give you. Yeah, mine is like off the cuff. Nobody, this is going on in the church institute. So maybe you're walking down the street and perhaps somebody has a whole business idea for you, but yet you know what? I'm allergic to cats. I can't do a cat, what do you call it? A pet grooming place, or maybe you're allergic to pet hairs or something, and you can't do a mobile pet grooming place, and maybe your best friend's like, no, you should do it, because perhaps they value your business input, they believe you'd be a strong partner and you'd be great. But deep down in your heart, you know what? I love doing art. I want to do more art projects, and I want to, do that and focus on my website and selling my pieces and so forth. Then go with your knowing. Right? Because at the end of the day, if we're not too careful, it can also borderline on people pleasing if we don't stand in what we firmly believe for ourselves. But that harkens back to everything we've been learning and bringing us to in our journey to our true self of trusting oneself. Because when you know yourself, if you render back to to the other podcast, knowing yourself will bring you back right to trusting yourself, making decisions that you have felt within your heart that are suitable for you. And don't feel uncomfortable making, because it just be weird. Weird in the sense like when the lady said that, and the part was I knew the person she was talking about. And I just like, listen, I've always been, maybe that's where the hard-headed part comes in, stubborn or with a strong conviction. I even was always the person like, listen, the divine God talks to everyone. So if he talked to you about who I'm supposed to get married to, he'll definitely talk to me. But little did she know that I had already seen in my dream that I was going to get married. You guys, that dream was crazy. One day, maybe, do we have time? It was like, I was shown my wedding 5 years before I got married in my dream. And typical dream style, it was a man with his hands laced at the end of the altar. And I was peering through the double church door in this like really like historic old sanctuary that our church used to have. And I could see through the glass door, but I couldn't see his chin up. I could only see like from below the chin down. So I could see the complexion and I could see like the people standing next to him. I didn't recognize them. But 5 years later, we got married in that same exact sanctuary. But anyway, so needless to say, I'm just saying, listen, trust yourself. You got this. Trust yourself. You know, you have a knowing in you that's ringing, ding, 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 ding. It's ringing and saying, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to go there. I'm not, not now. Please circle back. Like memory keeps circling us back to the pit. So yeah, let's go back to that. So let's see other decisions. I made a lot of major decisions, and not out of rebellion and not against people's opinions, suggestions, and opinions necessarily, but just out of the knowing. It was scary. It was scary because, for years in my early 20s, I suffered from low self-esteem. So I had a lot of doubt in myself, if I was good enough, whether it was my performance or whatever it was. I dabbled in touch. I just doubted myself. But deep down inside, no matter how much you doubt yourself, because I doubted myself too. That's why I want to say this message to all. You still have that knowing in you. You still have that knowing in you. That little knowing, it could be major, it could be minor, it could be take this left, not the next left, your usual route, and you take that left and boom, you're saved. It could be just walk across the street, don't go straight. Just that knowing. And like I said, folks, people that love us, that surround us, that adore us have, I remember having a discussion with a loved one time, and it's to do with the books, my catalog of books that been writing. And so at that time, this is a nice one. So it was at the precipice when I started writing books and so forth. And I had a dear loved one say, oh my gosh, let's do this. Let's put these out. Let's do all this. And I'm weird like that. My brother calls me a perfectionist. I just like things a certain way. But listen, so I was like, at the time I was like, wait. And I think some of my doubt also was there though, but I still had a knowing. I had the doubt, but I had this knowing like I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do that yet. And I think the knowing, because it took me about, 10 years in writing to really hold on to a genre that I enjoy writing, and I'm creating a vast catalog on. And so I think that I held on to that knowing, because at that time when I had just found this craft and this passion and this love for writing, it was writing within that moment. I knew it wasn't the writing that was going to really define who I was as a writer or even show my best work. I just knew that I was gravitating to something that I just was in love with, and I was still trying to formulate an identity around it, even though my beautiful loved people around me were just ready to do all kinds of just out there and just like really support the projects. And I appreciate that. But I think the knowing inside, because that one singular move could have catapulted me into a direction that today, about 11, 12 years later, I would have been skewing away from, and it would have been a little bit confusing because, like I said, it just probably in the last 4 or 5 years where I've been sitting into the genre that I call my own, or a genre that I'm comfortable in and that I enjoy writing, and it's no longer experimental, but I can really gravitate to this and push it. So it was that knowing. So my message today is for you. It's that knowing, trusting yourself, trust yourself. Even if you doubt yourself, you feel that in your heart. Oh, my lease is up in 2 years from now, but I don't think I'm ready to leave this location yet because I need to advance my job real quick and do what I need to do here. Boom, boom. The kid has to come out of high school. Boom, boom. And do this. Trust that knowing. Perhaps then during that time you might meet maybe a significant other that lives 4 hours away, and it's like, oh, I gotta move quickly now. But your knowing is like, no, there's no rush. Just stay here. Go with that knowing. Go with the flow. You will never let yourself down. Go with the flow. Let me see. Well, trust the knowing. You let yourself down if you don't trust your knowing. Sometimes I realize, and I'm not trying to be funny, maybe I've let myself down because I had so many opinions that ended up confusing me or like taking me off the course or focus and thinking, I should have just stuck to what I knew, or I should have just stuck to the thing that I knew that I wanted to stick to instead of that, if that makes sense. So understand that, guys. I love you so much. Trusting yourself is very important because it's an important part of your journey to true self. For who is true self? If you cannot trust yourself, sit down for a while, just even 5 minutes, and meditate. Get into that higher self, clear your mind, get the news out of your head, get the social media drama out of your head, clear your mind even for 5 minutes a day, and ask yourself, like I would myself, like memory, what do you want to happen next? What is it that you see with your next project? What are you trying to accomplish today? What do you think about moving out? Like, you will hear that answer if you clear your mind, sit down and clear everything out of your area. Just silence is golden. Just silence. You and silence alone. You guys, I love you so much. We're on this journey to true self. I thank you once again. I am so humbled. You all don't understand that energy is very much transferable. When I see these analytics, it does something to my soul. My age just does something to my energy, and I feel so humbled. And trust yourself. You got this. Don't doubt yourself. You got this. Trust yourself. Listen. What's the worst that can ever happen from trusting yourself? Just, okay, well, thought I saw that coming, but I was trusting myself, right? But trust and believe, I've never had one of those moments. That's why I said when I was reflecting back on it, I was like, wait a minute. Every time, every time, somebody can't speak the English language. All right, let's try again. Every time that I did trust myself, English is my second language, guys. Bear with me. But every time that I did trust myself, I realized that the decisions and choices catapulted me into better places or different way of thinking, and even allowed me to be a little bit more receptive of myself and trusting of myself. It's like, oh, okay, well, all right, well, that worked out pretty well, didn't it? All righty then, well, let's continue. But once again, don't get them too close to each other with being closed-minded and not ever wanting to hear anyone else's way, or it's your way or no way, because then we won't evolve. We need everybody helping us, because also I've had people in my life give me great ideas, suggestions, and advice that's actually also helped me in my life. Alrighty. I love you guys that much. Don't forget to download, continue to download. If you're on my YouTube, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and family, thank you so much. And once again, we will circle back, to talk about to break down the in-depth on the dream zone interpretation on the drowning dream that I had about my sister. My sister's watching over us. I do believe that there is life after this. And I love you guys so much. Stay blessed. Life is happening right now. Not tomorrow, not yesterday, but today. Seize the moment to enjoy each day while en route to your intended destiny. A quote by Memory Ben Gessemers. If no one has told you this today. I love you. I appreciate you. And yes, we can do this thing